Four-game series against the Braves. Can the Marlins play spoiler in this NL East? We're going to look ahead to this Brave series with Riley's Rakes. Let's go!
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins. This is your daily Marlins podcast, and this is the Friday episode. Happy Friday, guys. Hope everyone is doing well. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, firstly, at Miami Marlins_UK, and the YouTube channel. If you are watching on YouTube, hello, greetings. You will see I have a guest, and it is a mobile guest right now. Riley's Rakes is in the house, fresh from the vehicle. How we doing, brother?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on. It's I imagine a late evening where you are.
I mean, that's par for the course, right? I mean, you can see by the background, it is dark and getting darker by the second. So it's late and warm here in the UK. But nevertheless, everything's all good. It's all good. We've got a 4-game series on deck here with the Marlins and Braves. It's been some time since we've seen each other. I think one of the key and critical things is that there's been a deadline since we last played each other. And let's go back to last year. Boy, oh boy, the Braves absolutely smashed up the deadline. They rinsed the Marlins with an Adam Duvall trade for a backup catcher, etc., etc. So let's bring us up to speed with what the Braves did at this deadline. Was it as impressive, do you think?
Certainly not. Certainly not. That impressive of a deadline never occurs again. Went out and we filled some needs. We needed a starter. So we went out and got Jacob from the Astros. That could potentially be helpful. We have a really good coaching staff. Hopefully help to get him over the little bit of a hump he was facing in made the trade for Raisel Iglesias, which is huge. Our is really turning into a force. And it was already a good bullpen to begin with, Iglesias. And now we've got Kirby Yates, who has recently actually things in AAA, could be back up with the big league club very soon. So, and full of guys like Kenley Jansen, Tyler Matzik, Raisel Iglesias, Kirby Yates, closers. So as long as our rotation can stay strong and what we've come to expect it to do, then I think we're in a very good place. Obviously, like last year, we needed every bit of that deadline we had last year. And I think what we needed to do, though it wasn't nearly as flashy.
Sometimes that's the way. You don't have to go all flash. You can just, make some minor moves and piece it together. So I'm intrigued. I mean, let's go back to, we think back to last year. It was, in some ways we didn't think that was flashy either, but it ended up being really flashy. As we're sitting here right now recording, you're hunting down the Mets still. So the Braves are in a slightly different position this year than maybe last, where the Mets are kind of extending their lead after you guys had a recent series. Who do you think is the best team in this NL East?
At the moment, it's the Mets. I won't even begin to argue that. They're baseball. They've really got a complete team. They're starting disgusting. Edwin Diaz is throwing some of the best baseballs and their lineup's very, very, very good. That being said, what a team can be good and lucky at the same time, and smiled upon by the BABIP gods this season so far. And I think we should look out for a little regression there. I don't know if it will be enough to chances of making the postseason by any means, but the fact that we now find ourselves 6.5 games back after having been 1.5, I don't think it's time to hit the panic button for Braves fans quite yet.
I don't think so. I don't time, but like you said, this is one of the main themes that I've been hearing as I've kind of, follow plenty of Braves guys on Twitter, plenty of Mets fans, and that's the vibe from the Braves guys is, boy, oh boy, this Mets team is the luckiest team ever. They are just somehow getting these weak hits that continue to be hits. Like, that's what we've seen on Twitter anyway.
I wanted to say first that they were good because they team, and I don't want to take anything away from them, but they're also a very good team that gets luck. I remember watching this series this past week. There were so many balls under 80 miles an hour that would just drop in for hits. It seemed like every single inning the ball would happen to find grass, and it was up to watch. The funniest part about it to me was that we had really for 3 out of the 4 games, and the game that we won was the Ian Anderson game down the next day.
Yeah, there we go. I did catch some of the Sunday game, the DeGrom start, and I mean, DeGrom was immense. However, in those hits the Mets were getting, there were tons of those bloop singles flying around everywhere, and little soft, dribblers through second base or something. So it computes, it stacks up.
Having CB Buckner behind the plate while we on the mound for our team was not a recipe for success.
There were some strike zone issues, I think, on that one, but a story as old as time.
A few, yes.
Yeah, exactly. But like you said, I think right now as we sit here recording this and looking at the division, it's fair to say the Mets are the best team right now. But there's no reason why the Bravos can't get hot as they did last year in the second half. And clearly the Mets, they haven't quite had their Mets moment. They've maybe just delayed a little bit. We're waiting for the Mets to have their Mets. It hasn't happened yet. It will happen. We know it will at some point. There'll be some kind of storyline or something that will rock that team. Something will go wrong, no doubt. I don't know what it'll be, but something will happen that will change that. It's great to see DeGrom back more generally, though, for baseball. But like you said, for the Mets, that's a real shot in the arm, too. Like at the deadline, they effectively acquired the best starting pitcher out there, which in Jacob DeGrom, and he looked legit. They're obviously, looking after him. He had a perfecto going at one point. It was like, hey, he's only got 70 pitches or 60 or something. But it was good to see him back. I'm intrigued to see the way he goes in the second half, how the Mets manage him. But this race is going to be great. And listen, the Phils are kind of like trending as well in the direction. They've kind of got scorching too. So it's become a 3-headed race now in this NL East, maybe.
Really has. It's gotten very interesting. And I know the braining against the Mets, and they're all in Atlanta. So I think those, despite the fact that the Phillies have a run, I think those 7 Mets Braves games in Atlanta are the one at this division.
Yeah, agreed. And that's the beautiful thing about the way these schedules shape up, isn't it? They do it for a reason where you backload a lot of your inter-division games, and you end up, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for meaningful in-division games back end of the year. Bravos, Mets. I think the Braves play the Phillies. The Phillies play the Mets, I think, this week as well. So it creates some real nice storylines, no doubt. First ad of the day. So let's get into that. Then we'll kind of touch base on. I want to talk about Acuña specifically because, again, sitting from afar, I'm hearing Acuña slander from Braves Twitter for the first ever time. So I'll let you think on that. I'll deliver the first ad, guys. And this one, it's a brand spanking new ad. So bear with me because it's a new one. And, well, listen, it could be the perfect one. You guys know I love beer, wine, and cocktails. And, I mean, listen, most Marlins fans do. So, this is all about your liver. All about your liver, and most of us have overworked livers, and I certainly do, no doubt about it. But now it's easy to rejuvenate your liver health and reignite your metabolism. So, thanks to Liver Health Formula by Pure Health Research, Liver Health Formula contains 8 liver-boosting super nutrients like turmeric, beets, and artichoke extract. Boy, oh boy, sounds like me cooking HelloFresh. But anyway, all of this work together to wake up a sluggish liver, and mine is sluggish, no doubt, and turn it into a toxin-flushing and fat-burning machine. No more bloated belly, I need that too. No more uncomfortable digestion. Need that. No more feeling tired and low on energy all the time. That's probably because I'm up till 3 a.m. watching the Marlins. And the best of all, Liver Health Formula makes it easier to maintain a healthy body weight long term. You need long term, no short term fads. No. And as a listener of our show, you can try Liver Health Formula risk-free today. You can get a free bottle of Curb Fit with your order. Curb Fit, it's a safe and all-natural appetite suppressant, making it easy to say no to naughty foods. That makes it perfect, the perfect complement to Liver Health Formula. So go to getliverhelp.com/MLB to learn more. Again, that is getliverhelp.com/MLB to try Liver Health Formula completely risk-free. Claim your free bottle of Curb Fit with your order. Getliverhelp.com/MLB to get started now. Hey, that was a fun one. That was good. New ad. Liver regeneration. Exactly what we need. I nailed that. Absolutely nailed that, baby. So happy days. Talk to me about Acuna then, because I've been seeing slander. It completely caught me off guard. The fact that Ronnie's coming back from, an ACL. He was out all the year. And I'm seeing Acuna slander on the timeline. What is going on with Braves Twitter?
I need some if I'm going to be answering these questions. There's always a sect of Braves Twitter that has not created what Ronald brings to the table. There's that old school mentality among some people. Don't go out there looking flashy. Don't bring any extra attention to yourself. And this is just of that popping up and rearing its ugly head. Playing incredibly well, but not playing incredibly well. Junior is still an above average Major League Baseball player, and with him having that he had to start his career, I think there was the hope and maybe foolishly dumb that he would come back from this knee injury and day one was on the day that he got hurt, and that's just not a realistic expectation. Team has clearly been doing work to help to regulate the load on whether it be rotating him into the DH spot or instructions not to run out balls that he'll be easily out on, stuff like that. I mean, that's it. It's just the way it is. He wasn't ever day one, but he's heading that direction. We're seeing flashes we know and love. He's still stealing bases. I think he's top 10 in the leagues, despite not having played the first 30 or 40 games of the season. That's got to come around, and I think the more realistic Braves fans of us.
Yeah, no doubt. He has been. It's one of them. It's expectations management. You just, the problem is if Acuna is dropping off slightly and just regressing from superstar best in the game to above average major leaguer, like people want to have a whinge about that. But I tell you one thing, one guy who definitely has taken his game to another level this year, in my opinion, Dansby Swanson. Contract year for Dansby as well. So interesting timing.
Contract year, Dansby. We love contract. Yeah. The funny thing about it, though, is that I don't have any more confidence than I had on day one of the season will be the starting shortstop on day one next year. There are many juicy and exciting possibilities for what we could do at the shortstop, short of Dansby Swanson. I mean, Correa, that's a guy we go for if he does opt out of that Twins deal. Trey Turner ended by the Dodgers. That's someone that we all got to watch just on a regular basis for a long time in Washington. So I know either of those guys Um, that being said, if it's going to get a deal done with Dansby because he's an Atlanta guy and clearly loves the city, go ahead. I made the point earlier this season before his bat got hot. The defense is at such an elite level that to me it when he goes into a hitting slump, he's gonna give us value regardless. And now that he seems to have gotten it figured out with his bat, the Dansby we've got this year is almost unrecognizable for the last several. And it's a lot of fun to watch. It really is.
No doubt. Like you said, the defense is absolutely sensational, but the stick, when the stick is hot, it absolutely plays big time. One other thing I heard in the broadcast when I was watching on Sunday, the fact that Dansby, he's played every game this year. No rest at shortstop for Dansby. He's in there every day. Olsen, I think, has pretty much played every day too. So the Bravos are leading on their studs. It was an interesting element because from a Marlins perspective, the season's cooked. Nevertheless, even early in the year, we have this funny old way of, load managing everyone to death. And you're kind of looking at these lineups going, what, you can't afford to take these studs out. Like, you can't afford to be platooning Jazz against lefties. Like, Jazz has got to play. He has to. And so,
right.
It's just, a different approach, different mentality. The talk is, well, get to October and they'll, Dansby will be burnt out. But I don't know. I'm not really bought into that. But thought it was interesting.
It's distinctly possible, but I sincerely, October rolls around, we actually have a second baseman. I think that Dansby and Olsen would have gotten some days off had Ozzy on it. So now we're at the point where the people we'd be rotating are filling in at second base.
Exactly. And I think that's a really critical point here is that, like, okay, a big piece of the infield in Ozzy Albies has gone down. It's meant the other guys have had to step up. Listen, guys, you're going to have to play every day through this because we need you in the lineup. We'll rotate. We'll find a way to kind of hold it down at second base, so to speak. And there's been a few options moving around there, but completely makes sense. There's another guy that we also need to talk about, of course. It's the money man now in town. So we'll talk about him shortly. Before we do that, it is the final ads of the week. And it's a doubleheader ads on a Friday here in segment 2. So boy, oh boy, they're absolutely piling in. So guys, first one is our good friends over at BlueNile.com. I love this ad too. BlueNile.com, you can celebrate all of life's special moments. So if you're thinking about custom engagement rings or gifting classic timeless jewelry pieces, it's all at prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. So if you're thinking about engagement, if you're thinking about dropping down on one knee, then Blue Nile, they've got you covered. They've got simple online tools that let you choose the diamond shape, size, bigger is better, and clarity as well as setting style. Blue Nile's jewelers will then handcraft her perfect engagement ring. Each one, baby, it's one of a kind. Bespoke jewelry from BlueNile.com. Or if you've already got the ring on it and you're thinking about life special moments with fine jewelry, then get into Blue Nile. They've got experts on hand 24/7. They're literally sitting there waiting for you. Available via phone or chat to help you find a memorable gift at every and any budget. So you can make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And right now, don't forget this one either. It's the Blue Nile anniversary sale. Save up to 40% on classic fine jewelry pieces and 25% on engagement ring settings. Absolutely sensational from BlueNile.com. So every order's insured, it ships free, arrives in discreet packaging. It's not going to give away what's inside. You can shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. And our final ad of the week, Bet Online. Our boys at Bet Online at betonline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. You can find all your favorite sports there and events. It's the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. They've got everything covered, every sport you can think of. All the US sports, of course, MLB, NFL, it's coming around real quick. NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf, they say. Formula One's in there. Tennis, probably. You've got it covered. Get into Bet Online for anything sporting-wise. You can head today to Bet Online. Use your mobile device to learn about the action happening today, tomorrow, this week. It's Bet Online where the game starts. All right then, Austin Riley. Austin Riley has signed a mega deal with the Bravos. Your reaction to that, did it catch you off guard? Because I heard no rumors of this at all. It just dropped. So what was your take on that?
And I think I shared that sentiment with most Braves fans. At this point, we're starting to get used to it, which is a weird thing to think. The Acuña deal came out of nowhere. Then the Ozzie Albies deal right behind it. We gave the big extension to Matt Olson, and so it's almost no longer surprising. Only a few years ago, we weren't the team that was giving out big deals.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't think any of us respected what we're getting out of Austin Riley. It's what
you did. You did.
I even me, when he first came, I thought, okay, we're going to get a 30 to 35 home run guy, 250, 275. Great. And he plays okay defense. Great defense. He's hitting 300 for the second consecutive year. He's going to be in the mid 40s in home runs by the end of the season. So even for Mystic Riley supporter, myself, he's blown away any and all that.
No doubt. Does he win the MVP this year?
I still think he sold a little bit short, getting 7th last year. He's certainly in the conversation. I think he's put up the season to be in the final 3 or 4, whatever they end up announcing. But yeah, I don't care if he does or not. We've got baseman for the next decade.
Exactly. Who cares?
I'll and not worry about the MVP award.
I'm with you. How do you think, you mentioned them, and this was kind of in my mind, Austin Riley, signs a, effectively a, $212 million deal. How do you think Acuña and Albies feel, having signed the deals they have and the I guess the contract value sizes, particularly Albies, which is clearly a way below market value deal for Albies. So how do you think those puppies are feeling?
I understand seeing the ride having and thinking that, but at the same time, look at where Acuña had just debuted, hadn't even played a full season. He was 21 years old at the time, and someone dangled 9 figures in front of to take that. The Albies deal, it was a little low. It was a little low, but I don't know. He also was very early, and the shelf life for second baseman a lot of the time isn't very long. So I don't fault anybody for taking what you can get while you can get it.
No way.
Going into extension negotiations after a season where you got it puts you in the kind of position where you get $212 million.
It really does. I do hope, because listen, the Marlins at some point will have a decision to make. Looks like we've lost. Finally, the signal is gone, but the Marlins will have a decision to make on Jazz Chisholm at some point. And I think this is the really interesting bit where you've got the Bravos across town that have extended Ozzie Albies. They've extended Ronald Acuna. They've extended Matt Olson. Different situation with Olson, but extended Austin Riley. Those 3 guys, they're somewhere in that range. Jazz Chisholm is kind of thinking, what can I do? What opportunities are there for me? Do I want to sign an extension with the Marlins? So I'm really intrigued as time ticks along. Where do the Marlins go with Jazz Chisholm? Do they want to entertain it? That's the first question. Does Jazz want to entertain it? Does Jazz want to be in Miami? I think he does. I think he enjoys being in Miami. I think he loves the vibe. So, we'll have to see on that one. At the same time, we do have to call out with Jazz. Clearly, there's some health issues here, right? Like, you can't depend on Jazz to be on the field 140, 150 games a year. Like, that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing Jazz missing significant portions of a season. And so, that's going to take you out of contention, right? I would guess for like an Austin Riley type deal, and maybe takes it more down to the Albies one where we say, Jazz, hey, listen, we're going to buy you out of some arb and whatever, and we want to commit to you, and you commit to us, and hey, let's call it 50 million, across 5 years or 6 or whatever the number is. Would Jazz want to do it? Maybe not. I think he may want to back himself a bit more than that, but clearly the injury risk is there. It's real, so we'll have to see on that one. It's a 4-game series here against the Braves. Looks like Austin Riley's Rakes has lost his signal finally in the car. So I guess really looking ahead to this series, it's an interesting one, no doubt. I think we're expecting Ian Anderson to come and pitch in this doubleheader on Saturday. He was optioned earlier in the week. Had a bit of a struggle of a year. Oh, he's back. Our man is back in the house. I
should keep a better eye on my battery life.
Oh, boy.
My apologies.
It's fine. I covered for you. I was just segueing into Jazz Chisholm, and I then covered off to say the Marlins have a decision to make, and they have some barometers here with the Braves. They've got an Albies, Acuna, and a Riley. 3 deals. Different types of situations, different types of players. But where the Marlins go, I was just saying though, the Jazz clearly he's had 2 seasons in a row. He's coming off an All-Star year right now, but both years he's missed significant time for the Marlins, and so I think that's going to really hold him back for them to commit 200 million or something like that to Jazz Chisholm at this point. Like, I think it's more in the Acuna to Albies range, somewhere in that segment, if they do want to extend him. But that is the first question: is do they want to extend Jazz Chisholm?
Exactly, and I know you guys have, but the question from an outsider's perspective, it is the opinion of him within the organization, within that locker room. Do they even like this guy, let alone want to extend him?
Oh boy! Listen, I was asking you thorny questions about Acuna. Now you flipped it onto me, and I've got to try and field questions on Jazz Chisholm and whether the people like him and want him to be there.
Notorious question flipper.
Yeah. No doubt, but I mean, I don't think that there's a problem with Jazz. I think Jazz is who he is, and I think people accept that. And if Jazz is good, if he's performing on the field, like many other extravagant characters out there in all sports, if you perform on the field, really it doesn't matter, and that's what it boils down to. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see how things play out. Clearly it felt like there was some friction. I think there was some misreporting too earlier on, about the clubhouse hates Jazz as far as that, but there was certainly some friction there with maybe Jazz and some of the vets, or some of the vets as well in general. But where do the Marlins go with this one? I'm intrigued. They've obviously handed out the extension to Sandy Alcantara, which was the right decision to make, by the way. I mean, the Marlins absolutely called that correctly. And do they just kind of put another stake in their own Jazz? We want you to be here. Coming off the back of 2 injury-plagued years, I'd be surprised if they did that now, personally. But we'll wait and see. Maybe it's an opportunity to get a cheaper deal, perhaps. But I just can't see it happening this offseason. There's a lot of other decisions to make this offseason. I don't think a Jazz extension, based on the fact it's not even at arbitration yet, so I don't think they will, is my read on it. We're out of time anyway, but we got a 4-game series. A successful series for you would be a series win, I assume. A sweep, maybe. Listen, when I ask people this, what are you thinking? They realize what podcast they're on. They know the audience, and they say, a 2-1 series win, or in this case, a 3-1, that's okay.
I'm not going to do it this time. We have to win these 4 games.
Oh!
All 4. We cannot, and it frankly is, we just cannot afford to lose any ground on this Mets team, and it doesn't look to be slowing down anytime soon. So when they've had their struggles like the Marlins have this year, we have to take advantage of them. So 2 games in Boston, as we all know, another team that's been struggling a bit. Then we've got 4 with you. I need 5 wins out of this week.
Oh, baby, baby, baby. Riley's Rakes drops into Locked On Marlins and basically says, we're going to sweep you boys in a 4-game series. My days. Love it. Absolutely love it. He's also asking me hard questions about Jazz Chisholm. I'm squirming, but I'm excited about this series. I mean, I love playing the Braves. It's my favorite. It's my favorite Twitter games anyway. I love Braves Twitter. It's so wild and loose in there. It can get so fun. So
I feel like Braves Twitter and Marlins Twitter gets along pretty well too.
I mean, it does at the moment because the Marlins are terrible and the Braves are still good. So I did. It was funny, clearly in 2020 where we obviously faced off in the in the NLDS, and there was definitely a little bit more bubbling around then. But I think the class of this division remains. The Braves
I
are still.
remember from that series, one guy who screams and wears the big blue hat.
Yeah, loud Marlins fan. Exactly. So. We'll wait and see what happens here. I think the Marlins will look to play spoiler. Interested to see how they line up from a pitching perspective. But, 4-game series, Riley's Rakes has got a sweep for the Bravos. I think if the Marlins split the series, they will be happy. But for the Marlins right now, it's all about, what development, what progression can they see from some of these young studs. So that is us out of here, guys. That's a Friday done. And it's half an hour. It's just over half an hour. So there we go. We finished strong. It's been a great week. I appreciate everyone tuning into Locked On Marlins this week. All the feedback, all the support. It's been a lot of fun. I love doing this pod for you guys, even though the Marlins, okay, it's been tough. But from a pod perspective, I've absolutely loved it. There's so much to get into here with these fish in 22. So no doubt about it. Alex, thank you so much for joining me from the vehicle, the roaming reporter.
Say
covering
anytime, I mean anytime.
Exactly. When you say exactly, you'll make it happen, which you have again. I put the bat signal out there. You always come and deliver, no doubt about it. So, guys, that's us out of here. Riley's Rakes, Peter Pratt for Locked On Marlins. We'll be back next week, and I will somehow try to better this week's guests. It's probably impossible, but nevertheless, join us on Monday. We'll see what we got. See you guys.